for us, unfortunately, this isn't, you just go home and, secretly go, oh, my kid's a shithead, but he'll come around one day or she'll come around one day. But this is something to where like everyone's going to be affected if we don't get ahead of this. And, I've always used that. You've heard me say it before. I always use that. Let's get to where the alcohol industry got with DUIs, right? Like, let's get ahead of it so nobody blames the gun like they do, like they don't do with Johnny Walker when someone, drinks way too much and gets behind the wheel and does something horrific.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Season 2 of the Liberal Gun Owners Lens podcast. I am Miyanovich, and I will be your pilot on an unprecedented ride through the most innovative and forward-thinking analysis of the relationship between humans and guns on planet Earth. The entire nexus between guns and public safety needs a wake-up call, and Liberal Gun Owners is here to rock that party. Are you somebody who thinks you know what's going on with guns and public safety? I don't give a shit. I'm dragging your ass into the future whether you like it or not. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Liberal Gun Owners Lens podcast. My name is Cottonmouth Miyanovich Johnson. Today we are bringing back a friend of the podcast and a friend of Daddy's, Michael Sodini. Michael Sodini is a man who needs no introduction, yet I will give him one. Michael Sodini is a third-generation firearms industry professional and known by many as the most un-gun gun guy. He is the founder of Walk the Talk America, a nonprofit organization dedicated to making positive change in relationship with mental health and firearms awareness. Michael is also the co-founder of Avidity Arms with business partner Rob Pincus, and Michael was the president of Eagle Imports Incorporated, who was the main distributor in America for brands such as Bursa, Metro Arms, and Grand Power. So grab yourself a coffee, drink it up, take a dump, come back, get another coffee, come back in to listen to the podcast, accidentally drink the second cup, force yourself to go take a dump again, go to the hospital because you're probably dehydrated or there's something else wrong. Come home and then get all set up to listen to the podcast. Get another coffee and then join us, won't you, for this conversation with Michael Sodini. Also, before you start listening, go and buy a PD-10 from Avidity Arms and then take your third dump. Or fourth, because I lost count. Michael Sodini, welcome to the Liberal Gun Owners Lens podcast, man. It's great to have you back.
Hey, man, it's great to be here, and it's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's. I feel like I got busy, really busy. I know you're really busy, but I have always seemed to have tried to make time for like my favorite people in the past, but this past year, boy, I've just been like my head's on fire. So it's been a long time since we've talked.
Yeah, I mean, that's life. But we have each other's number, and I know you're always there. So
yeah, I do. I text. We do text occasionally. I try to like maybe send you stupid shit or whatever. So what's the general, I have some specific Walk the Talk America questions for you, but I want to just ask, like, what's the general, like, the status for Walk the Talk America? How is it going with Walk the Talk America?
I think it's going good. We're in year 5. We're still heading in the right direction. Our popularity, when I say popularity, I don't want to make it sound like it's a popularity contest, but like the fact that we're starting to be known, outside of the industry, which is really good because like the echo chamber is easy to stay in. But, I found that we're doing a lot of work outside the industry. We're doing a lot of work with the VA and the DOD and I recently, a few months ago, being asked to speak, being the first gun person ever to be asked to speak at the Aspen Institute of Health Festival.
Yeah.
Things like that, I think is a measure of our success and how it translates and transcends like across, whatever barriers that life puts up, right? Whether you're a gun person, a non-gun person, whether you're, driven by political beliefs, it seems like our message is definitely getting across to everybody, which is positive.
But so things are going pretty well here in year 5 for you guys. Can you talk to me a little bit more? Like I think the last time that you were on, one of the things that we talked about was sort of, let's say, the gun culture status quo and the status quo of the sort of the anti-gun side or the high gun regulation side. So you've been traveling in both worlds now for 5 years. Are you seeing real change in mentalities, and what are some of the examples of that? Like, let's start with, since you spend a lot of time talking on the mental health side to people who might be high gun regulation, are you seeing people's mentalities change there?
I think so. One example that I want to tell you about this story, kind of going off of what I just said about the Aspen Institute, the health festival, right? I think that's a very good gauge because when I was invited to speak there, they bent over backwards to get me there. Like literally, they threw the kitchen sink at like, hey, can you come up here at short notice? I think they contacted me like a week and a half before it started. We want a person from the firearms industry to be part of this panel. Then when I got up there, it was really funny because I feel like they were really worried about me and my mental health because they were like, listen, they're like, this crowd, many of them are not into guns. And they're like, we actually tried to have a conversation the previous year that involved firearms and it went south and there was no gun people here. You know what I mean? So, having said that, like I was pretty confident because I think when you provide solutions, in any conversation, when you're dealing with people that don't agree with you or anti-gun or gun neutral or maybe gun ignorant, when they see the solutions that Walk the Talk America is putting forward, it kind of brings that defense, that guard down. So it was good for me to have the opportunity to speak at this thing. And there was a section, I'm going somewhere with this. Cool. So just
take your time.
I'm taking it a long way. But I'm on this panel and two of the people, the other two people on the panel, someone would make an argument that they're anti-gun. Someone would make an argument that they're gun neutral, right? Like it just depends on how you look at it. But they were talking about ERPO laws and red flag laws and how great they are. And then it came time for me to talk about ERPO laws and red flag laws. And it was funny because I said, what I'm about to say is going to really kind of freak some people out. And I'm not trying to get myself thrown off the panel, but I said, I live in a different world. I live in a world where ERPO laws can actually prohibit people from getting help and potentially get them killed if they wait too long to try to get help, right? It's that let's try to get people help before stage 4. And I explained what I meant by that, right? I explained that barriers to entry sometimes are unintentional and that we need to understand that if people are afraid to go get help because of an ERPO law or red flag law, that's a problem, right? That's a problem. And as soon as the panel was done, I was like mobbed by all these people coming forward that wanted to talk to me. And specifically, most of it was about that. So I spent the next couple days in Aspen walking around this campus because I had nothing else to do because my time is already up. They only needed me for that hour and a half the one day and they let me stay the whole week. So I'm walking around this campus and man, there were so many people that came up to me and they're like, I saw you speak on that panel the other day and I never even thought about the unintentional consequences of ERPO laws. It's like when gun owners would fight the ERPO stuff, he's like, I just always assumed that they were being the whole, like, we want to arm everybody and, defend the second and all that stuff. He's like, I thought many of you were being unreasonable, but now you've given me something to think about. And this happened over and over again. Like they never thought about it that way. So to go back to your original point, like, I think when the opportunity presents itself to, basically explain where you're coming from in a polite way, right? Like, in a way that can kind of make people, it gives them a different perspective, then you're seeing a change. But unfortunately, I just don't think there's enough crossover yet for people like myself to get into these events to actually have those conversations and be able to have those conversations.
Yeah, it seems like there are some fronts where it's more possible, right? And I think that's an important thing to identify. Like what I'm doing with school shootings is, aligning myself in friendships with high tier threat assessment experts. And these are the people in schools and out in the real world who have a behavioral science that they follow in order to mitigate certain shootings, right? So, but mostly we're talking about targeted acts of violence and mass shootings. And these are people that are professionally dedicated to it, and they have been for decades, and they're developing these systems, and these systems work. So when we see the mass shootings that happen, we're like, this is fucking terrible, because it is fucking terrible. But the reality is that for every one that we see, there's 5 or 10 or 15 that were stopped, right? There's a whole bunch of them that were thwarted, which is also quite scary, because if you didn't have these people out there doing these mitigative strategies, the mass shootings reality really would be apeshit. It would be, our society would be crumbling, probably. So I'm bringing that up because these people are focused on problem solving. And so, some of them are gun people. Some of them are gun neutral. Some of them are anti-gun, or like not necessarily anti-gun, but they're more high regulation type people, gun control supporters. Exactly. But because they have a problem that they want to solve, they are much lower, like they're much more accepting, I found. When they meet me, they're like, oh, cool, much more than they're like, ooh, guns. So I bring that up because that sounds like what you guys kind of have going on too. It seems to me like the mental health world is starting to be cooler with gun people generally.
I agree with that 100%. And the reason, and once again, I think it goes back to being able to provide some sort of solution that they can wrap their head around, right? Because in their mind, it's like, we try to talk to you, and all you ever say is probably from my cold dead hands or Second Amendment, and you back up, right? Like offer the solutions. That's what I mean when I walk into that room and I start telling them about everything that WTTA is doing with their partners, right? The Rugers and the Arms Corps and the firearms trainers. I know that it's something new for them, because for them, everything is about messaging, and a lot of it falls on deaf ears when you're talking to the gun industry, right? Like, I'll give you a prime example of this. Today, I talked to a mental health clinician who was asking me, do I have any, what literature do I have for gun shops? And what that person was looking for was something that covered the mental health. I had sent them the mental health flyer, but they're like, do you have anything more substantial that deals with the different types of locking devices and safety? And my response to that was, for me, no, because it's a little bit overkill for Walk Talk America because of my audience, right? And I had to take him down this to make him understand, because I know he's coming from the mental health side where he's just like, gun owners are irresponsible and they leave their guns out and they don't care and all. You know what I mean? Like there is this like belief that the industry does absolutely nothing, and we almost encourage bad behavior in some circles. I don't want to say every single one of them, right? But I was trying to explain to him, look, for me to give a gun shop a flyer that has the different locking devices for them to give to their consumers that come into that shop, that doesn't really make sense. Any gun shop that's worth the salt, margins on guns are low enough, right? Like every gun shop has the safety devices. And I know there's probably a few that don't, but for the majority, gun shops need to sell safes to make money. Yeah. They need, and this person also didn't realize that every single gun box comes with a locking cable or a locking device for the gun. Yeah. Right. So, I was trying to say to him, like, who's your audience? Like, who are you trying to get through to? Because firearms instructors are preaching safety and locking devices. Gun shops are selling those things. Manufacturers are providing at least the cable lock, and also in the many times in their manuals they talk about safety and safe storage and things like that. You know what I'm like? Once again, is this just like, what's the purpose of you wanting this sheet? Is it to make yourself look good to somebody? Like, you know what I mean? Because I found that most of the time, these people that go after grants, or they're looking for feel-good solutions that they can turn to their people and say, yeah, we provide this or we do this, then there's a purpose for it. But for me, it'd be more important to have the why in that sheet, right? Why do you need to keep your guns responsibly stored when not in use? Why do you need to train as hard retrieving your firearm from your safe as you do using your firearm? Yeah. Right? You know, that type of thing. But I feel like the people that we have kind of divided ourselves against, right? It's the people that don't understand us, the allegedly anti-gun, or the people who just want to solve a problem. I feel like sometimes they get stuck in the same things that they believe because they're not hearing from us providing these solutions.
Yeah. They're standing on the outside of a phenomenon and trying to understand it from generalizations and stereotypes. Because what else can you do? If you're on the outside of something, how else can you understand it unless you're just looking at the most generalistic impressions of it? Like, you don't have the inside baseball. So you might be able to get enough impressions to get some ideas and to make some conclusions, but they're not going to be always accurate. So what do humans do? We rely on stereotypes. We rely on generalizations, right? So, and this just makes me think that we've had this conversation, or we've talked about this before, but unfortunately, this is like a one person at a time thing, a one organization at a time thing, a one event at a time thing, because we don't have a country that facilitates at the meta level an integrated conversation between high gun control people and gun people. We don't have that.
Right.
So when there are so many ignorances that are so in the way and do not need to be there, and people can still believe strongly in their rights and in their gun rights, and the safety people can believe strongly in their public safety piece. And if we could just get rid of that horse shit with the stereotyping and the generalizing, I think we'd get a lot further. And this is why I try to make this point to gun people. It is in if a person believes in their gun rights, it is in their best interest to listen to the nuance and the subtlety of what we're saying. Like, it is in the best interest of gun rights that we have a better relationship with everybody. And just entering that conversation does not mean you have to fucking give your position up.
Right. Yeah. I hate it when we dumb ourselves down in the gun community. It's like, oh, if you talk to those people, they're very tricky. It's like, wait, you're worried about being tricked into what?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean. Like, I love going into those situations. But, I was telling you about how like 12 different people like pulled me aside and they're like, hey, they didn't want my feelings to get hurt or me to freak out. But it's like, the one lady at one point was like, yeah, you're really confident. Because I kept saying, this is not going to be a problem. Don't worry about it. Like, it's not going to be a problem. And I told her, I said, I'm actually more confident talking to these people than my own people sometimes, because my own people love to jump to conclusions or love to be defensive. Like, why are you blaming the gun? I still get that to this day. Right. I just did this thing in Wyoming this weekend. I was presenting on Thursday and Friday, and Wyoming. There's a lot of pro-gun people. It's easy, right? Especially when you're talking to a crowd that's more accepting of firearms, just because it's part of cowboy culture or the culture. And someone in there was like, raised their hand at one point, and they're like, "Why are we focused on the gun and not everything else?" And I literally at one point I was just like, "The reason why I focus on the gun is because I'm part of the gun industry. If I worked in ropes, maybe I'd do ropes. No, but you know what I mean? Like, why do I? Because it's something I can do. I know it sounds awful, but it's true though, right? Like, I'm not here to fix suicide overall. Like, I don't have the answer for big pharma and everything like that, but I do know I can touch firearms owners, right? As being someone who's been in this industry for a long time.
Yeah. And the other thing about, like, why do you focus on the gun so much? It's not the gun. When the person's saying that, there's a part where they're right and there's a part where they're wrong. Like, they're right about it's not the implement, it's the behavior behind the implement. Of course, that's true. But I think we're fastly approaching a time where if your argument is it's not about the gun, then you're a fucking moron. It is also about the gun. It is also about the gun. That is the most efficient tool for many things. And it has an attractive quality to certain people to do certain things. And that is also a part of the behavior. We're not going to blame the gun, but this way that gun owners try to constantly separate guns and gun rights out of an obvious reality. We're sitting right fucking here. We're adults. Mike's an adult. I'm an adult. We're watching it. The gun is a part of the equation. It's not the generator function of the problem, but it's a part of the fucking equation. So I don't know how much longer we're going to have to suffer with that shit. But again, you can see the gun as a part of the equation of these problems and stand really strong with your fucking rights. Like, it's what I think it is, Mike, is that many grown men just have a hard time fucking with that narrowness. They just don't know how to fucking get out of it. And these kinds of men seem to love guns.
Yeah. When you love something so much though, sometimes I think that's a natural reaction, right? It's like a child, right? Like, it's like a parent who defends their child's shitty behavior. For us, unfortunately, this isn't, you just go home and, secretly go, "Oh, my kid's a shithead, but he'll come around one day or she'll come around one day." But this is something to where, like, everyone's going to be affected if we don't get ahead of this. And, I've always used that. You've heard me say it before. I always use that. Let's get to where the alcohol industry got with DUIs, right? Like, let's get ahead of it so nobody blames the gun like they do, like they don't do with Johnny Walker when someone, drinks way too much and gets behind the wheel and does something horrific.
Yeah.
And I think for the majority, and I want to bring it back to the gun side, mm-hmm. right? Because we just talked about the non-gun side, kind of understanding where we're going. But I do feel like there has been a really big cultural shift. If you look at WTTA 5 years ago and WTTA now, and I'll give you an example. We recently just did the USCCA show mm-hmm. in Milwaukee. Jake and I were working the booth, and oh my God, there were so many firearms trainers that came up to us, like USCCA certified trainers that were like, "We use your slide show. We have online, we have under our resource section, we have these like 6 slides that firearms trainers can implement into their curriculum, and pass out our flyers or whatever they choose to, however deep they want to get into it." But there were so many trainers that came up and just introduced themselves like, "Yeah, I use your stuff." And that was kind of cool to see. Yeah. Right. Like, and then, hearing from some of these firearms instructors that saying these states are making, like states like California, New Jersey, New York, and Maryland, I think Indiana too as well, are now going to start making it mandatory that firearms instructors do at least a certain amount of attention to mental health and suicide prevention. It's only going to become more popular, but I would love to even, like, for me, my story that I'd love to tell these states is there's a lot already doing it, right? Like there's a lot of firearms instructors already doing it, which I'm very proud of that fact. You're getting there.
It would be great if you got into a position like John Van Driel has with his student threat assessment system, where entire states basically are mandating that you have a threat assessment system for schools. And entire states they believe in John, or people believe in John's way or his system so much, entire states adopt his system for the whole state. That would be really cool if things got into that position. If you have states that are like, look, you need to include something in your curriculum about suicide or mental health, and maybe the states would say, here are 3 examples, and walk the talk would be one of them. Not that the state would mandate that you have to follow walk the talk's thing, but that they would suggest walk the talk. That would be a giant accomplishment. Like, now that I think about it, I'm thinking, how can we make that happen? Like, who do we have to talk to?
And the one thing I've noticed about these different states, because I had every single instructor that told me it's now becoming mandatory, and many of them are starting like January 1st of next year. And I was asking them, like, what do they want? Like, what is it they want? And it seems like these states, they just want it. They don't know what that looks like. So now is the time, right? Like and that's what I think is cool, is at least with our stuff, like if you contact, and this is for any listener right now that is actually a firearms instructor that wants to incorporate this, if you go to our website, we have that stuff there, and we do send out kits, right? That include, whatever number of cards you need. Like if someone says, hey, can you send me like 200 cards, the flyers, and then we send out the wristbands, right? And that gives people a way to bring this subject up, because I truly believe, like, this, I know this, and every one of your listeners that's a gun owner knows this, right? When we get into firearms, everything that's taught to us is safety first, right? We learn about the 4 basic safety rules, whatever they are, 3 for Rob Pincus, 4 for everybody else. Rob's so smart that he narrowed it down to 3. No. Classic Rob. No, but Rob makes sense when he talks about why he thinks there's really 3, right? Because I get it. But what else do we learn? We learn that you can't just shoot somebody in a defensive shooting situation and expect your life to be perfect, right? Even if you're in the right. So like gun owners, we do know that, right? Concealed carry owners, we do understand the ramifications of getting in a defensive gunfight. And we hope that we never have to, right? Like that's a huge thing that's just been ingrained in our head. So we got those first 2 things. We got safety, we got that piece, the defensive shooting piece. Now, I want every gun owner to have a better mental health plan and a suicide prevention plan. That should be part of that curriculum, right? Like you're now a gun owner, and just like your physical health, we have to start understanding you plan ahead for mental health, staying on top of that. And I think that shouldn't be a problem as being part of the curriculum for all firearms trainers. Yeah, I hate mandates, but I think I want you to want to do the dishes. I want every firearms instructor to want to actually touch on this, because everybody out there that owns a gun, they do no good to us dead, right? Like it really, like the world's a better place when people are mentally prepared for crisis, and they understand their own feelings and their own thoughts. And from a gun manufacturer's perspective, you want people to buy your firearm and have the best experience, and you want them to actually care about you. And it's not just transactional, right? Like, I want to be able to pick up my Ruger and say like, hey, Ruger, like literally is telling me to stay on top of this. Like they're recommending this. This is the resources that they're providing. It's nice to deal with a company that actually cares about you. So
yeah. And we'll talk about Avidity Arms later on, but, I'm not sure that a lot of people know how huge it is to have a gun company that is dovetailed with this mentality from the get-go, number one. Number two, when you pick the gun up out of the foam insert, It says right underneath it, rights come with responsibilities. This kind of attitude and spirit is, I mean, I know other gun companies kind of have it, but this is unprecedented. And it's a major fucking statement to the universe about, frankly, where I think this is where your beliefs and my beliefs have strong overlap. This is the future of guns. I wouldn't be in this if I didn't think that was the case, and we needed to force the issue. But I definitely think that's where it's at. And it's the 5 years ago when we talked, or 4 years ago when we talked, it was like, okay, we have to do this. Now it's like, holy shit, there are kind of a lot of people, like we just were talking about a couple minutes ago. There are a lot more people that are down with this, man. Mm-hmm. I just think what we have now is a battle between old school mentality and new school mentality. And, what if I had to do a psychological profile of like kind of meat and potatoes gun owners? What you have is when a person owns a gun and they're middle-aged male, they have a more casual attitude about violence. And when I say casual, I don't necessarily mean bad, although there's a lot of that. Like, they fucked around and found out, like that kind of casual shit. Yeah. But there is a more casual attitude around violence. There's a more relaxed attitude and casual attitude around weaponry. And there's less emotional intelligence. There's less emotional sensitivity or sensibility. The kind of shit that's really good if you want somebody to take a hand grenade and run it up to a machine gun nest or be a cop for 40 years. Like that's probably works well there. But that's not what we need for the future of gun ownership. We need, mentally healthy middle-aged males that feel okay that they can have emotions and talk about their emotions and that are in touch with emotions, that have eyes that see the world with emotions instead of just fuck you, brr, or whatever it is that they're doing. And we need people to be that a little bit more sensitive to violence as a thing. And that's what I think we're up against, is that we've got this new thing emerging, but then we have this old thing, which is kind of like, leave me alone on my island with my guns. That's a bunch of psychobabble, etc. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I always think of it as like, what better way to, like, I know so many couples, right, where one person is a gun person and the other person isn't. Like, and they find a way to coexist. But what better way to bring somebody over to your side, right? If you're the gun person in the relationship, right? And it's funny because like I've had this discussion with like Chris Chang, right? He was talking about his husband, and he was like, my husband was like my first wife was very anti-gun. You know what I mean? And he's like, my husband is the same way. Like he's uncomfortable. Like, I'm the gun person in the relationship, but we found a way to make it work. But what better way to show your significant other or your partner or whoever that this isn't all bad. It's not everything you think. It's not all negative, right? Like when you as a gun owner are talking about like, hey, we got to have this suicide prevention plan, or here's the plan for if anybody in the house ever gets in mental health crisis, this is what we're going to do. It's such a good way to involve that person in your gun owning, right? Like in your hobby, in the way that you move through life. Like, I think everything is about involving somebody into it, right? It's just like if you were into Star Trek and your wife wasn't, and you got to figure out a way to make her like it, right? Because you want to watch it with her, so you make it an enjoyable experience. Whatever it is, right? Bowling, right? The same thing. I think when people see that, there are people out there that really care, and gun companies that care, I think it just makes it more enjoyable for everybody else. I mean, I know this for a fact. I've watched people kind of, Alpha Tech, the owner of Alpha Tech, Joe, that right? They make the PD-10, the Avidity Arms. And when he said, I want to get with this company, he brought Walk the Talk America to his wife. And she really liked that. And I think that helped soften the blow of, hey, I'm going to go down this path and create these firearms, because it was like, okay, this is a gun company that cares. And this is an organization that even if you don't like firearms, and it's not that you don't like firearms, you don't want to see people die or hurt, right? That's really what not liking firearms is. Like I always tell that to people, don't lose sight of that when you're arguing with somebody. They don't want to see people hurt, or they don't want to see people dead. But what better way to include them and show them, hey, like this is responsible. This is everything that you love. This is about helping people. So
I say my conclusion is this: attraction to guns and aversion to guns are both normal. By far, they're both normal. And if you can get over that, because each side tries to treat the other side as what you're doing is abnormal. But when you look at the statistics, you look at the literature that's associated, you look at the reality of it, it's just both of those feelings are completely normal. It's normal for a person to see a human being to see a dangerous thing and go, I don't want anything to do with that. It's also normal for them to see a dangerous thing and go, ooh, I like that.
Right. Run right towards it.
Totally normal. Both are normal. And so when we get into this, like, no, it's your fault. No, you're the fucked up one. No, you're the fucked up one. We're working against facts. That was the first thought that I had. The second thought that I had with what you were saying is something I just talked to Chuck Rossi about from Open Source Defense. And that is, there is a future here in America with guns. There's a future, and that future will have guns. Okay. So there's two things that will happen. You will have the main representation of the future of guns in America can be from my cold dead hands, and the crazy bad things that happen with guns are not our problem. You can have that, or you can have something else. You can have an alternative. You can have people who are like, look, we believe in this right, but we are also sensitive to the associated negatives, and we want to be involved with both. You can have from my cold dead hands, the crazy stuff is not my problem, or you can have that second thing I just said, but you can't have zero. There's not going to be a nothing. There's not going to be a no guns. There's not going to be the way that high gun regulation people want it. There's not going to be that. There's going to be a future with guns, and you have two choices. And I think getting the quote unquote antis to understand that is a real fucking trick. But I think that's really where we need to concentrate, is like, they need to understand that this is not going anywhere. So we're trying to improve it from the inside. As David Yamani says, safety with guns, not safety from guns. I think a lot of these people can perpetuate their beliefs because they believe there can actually be a future in America where there's no guns, or somehow we're going to be Great Britain or Australia, and we're simply not.
No way. Yeah. That's a fantasy land. And I don't even know, like, if someone, well, you can't, right? Like, if someone guaranteed me that we could get rid of all guns and death and crime and evil would be reduced, like, you can't guarantee that. You know, it's never going to be to that situation. Here's one funny thing.